Hey, everybody, it's a very special episode of Afterthoughts. We have a special guest here to celebrate that. To promote the new Fast X, it's Vin Diesel.
Hey, John, how's it going?
It's going great, Vin. How are you doing?
It's great to be here.
Oh, yeah. We're happy to have you here with the Afterthoughts family. See what I did?
You can't say that, only I can say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was
You're not in the family.
I forgot that was in the contract. Well, anyways, we're happy to have you here, Vin, and everybody out there is part of Vin's contract as part of Vin's contract to be a guest. We are obligated to take a quick ad break before we get started. So let's kick it over to that ad.
I'm Vin Diesel, and I love three things: family, muscle cars, and the refreshing taste of an ice-cold Corona. Whether I'm barbecuing with the boys or flying down the street at 150 miles an hour, I always have a Corona by my side. There's no bigger power move than winning a quarter-mile race, staggering out of the car with an empty six-pack, and letting your rival know that you beat him while drunk off your fucking ass. Corona. Never drive without it.
Vin, that sounded like it was about drinking and driving.
Yeah. I love Corona behind the wheel. Nothing gets me up in the morning like a fresh ice cold Corona.
That's that's pretty illegal, isn't it?
Lots of things are illegal, John. Street racing's illegal. That don't stop me.
That
I do what I want.
That's a fucking horrible excuse for drinking and driving. Jesus. What do your friends think about these ads?
I don't have friends. I got family.
Oh, okay. What does your family think about these ads?
My family loves me, and they let me do whatever I want.
That doesn't sound like a...
You know what? Fuck you, John. I don't have to take this anymore.
Oh. Then, does this mean that the contract's off? You're not going to be in the episode?
Hey, guys. What's up? Sorry, I'm a little late. Did I miss anything? Oh, cool. You guys got Corona.
Yeah. That was brought by...
Oh, God. Oh, it's so fucking terrible. Welcome to Afterthoughts, everybody. I am your host, Michael Dixon. Joining me, as always,
John Garcia.
What's up, John? How's it going?
It's going well. I mean, it could be better. I watched Fast X, and it could be better.
Yeah.
That's just... That's all I have.
Foreshadowing things to come. Ryan King is also joining us. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, I am joining. I do not have a Corona, but I want to feel like I'm part of the family.
Oh, yeah. I do have a Corona, and it does not taste good, frankly. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So
I'm not convinced that you actually brought Coronas. I think you pissed in these bottles and sealed them.
Yeah, right.
There is very little atomic difference between Corona and human urine. So, it's hard to tell sometimes.
What I'm hearing is somebody's becoming a brewer.
Oh my God.
I'm brewing a batch right now, if you catch my drift.
No.
Oh, man.
Oh, God, that is awful.
Oh, man. That's like a really horrible Pepsi challenge, the Corona and a bottle of piss.
Corona or piss. Carbonated piss. Yeah.
Hey, that reminds me of another Pepsi challenge. How about we look at a Marvel movie in Fast X and see which one is which?
Oh, my God. So, folks at home, we are talking about Fast 10, Fast X, whatever you want to call it.
The great Dom Toretto. If you never would have gotten behind that wheel, I'd never be the man I am today. And now, I am the man who's going to break your family. Piece by piece.
The devil's coming.
Boom. Tommy, I knew you would come for me. So how about we all just start shooting each other? Time to end this.
Let's dig some graves.
If you know me, you probably know that I love this franchise for the stupid shit that it is. Just the over-the-top fun. I had a little bit less fun with this one than usual.
I wondered. That was I kind of walked out being like,
Yeah.
is this going to be a, yay, I like Fast and the Furious? Is this going to be a, this is a little downhill?
Yeah. Fast X seems to be Vin Diesel's attempt at making a Marvel movie for some reason, and I'm not really sure why the franchise would decide to go in that direction, but it basically is the plot of Infinity War. We have, Dom and his family, and turns out there's a random person from Fast 5 who wasn't actually in Fast 5, but was there all along behind the scenes. Jason Momoa is the son of Hernan Reyes, who is the drug kingpin that they kill in Fast 5, spoilers, and he has come back for revenge to just inflict as much suffering upon Dom and his family as possible. He says, in the trailer, do not accept death when suffering is owed. He's basically an over-the-top Joker-esque character who, paints his fingernails, and that's what makes him, interesting, I guess.
He just talks to dead dudes and hangs out in
Yeah.
backyards randomly.
And he just starts, somehow he's able to take over Cypher's gang immediately right at the start. And she's this crazy untouchable villain, and he just takes over her crew immediately and then just goes on this crazy rampage and tries to chase after Dom and his crew and inflict as much torture on them as possible. And that's the movie, basically. They have said that they're making this a 3-part thing, which, I just don't know that this franchise really has the stamina for something like that, to do a single storyline over 3 movies. That's a lot. I mean, there are a lot of characters in this, and it takes place in 6 different locations across the globe. It's LA, Rio, London, Portugal, Antarctica, Rome, all over the fucking place. They're introducing new characters. There are 5 new characters in this movie. It's juggling a lot of things. And the thing that bothered me the most actually was that there was so much fucking CGI in this thing. And usually what makes the Fast franchise stand out from other action franchises is that they do so much practical work and actually do all these driving stunts and supplement it with CGI. But they're doing all that shit, and you can actually tell that it's really happening, and it makes those scenes so much cooler. In this movie, there was so much stuff that was just straight up CGI, and I don't know why they decided to do that. I know that the director left 5 days into production, and they had to bring on a new one. I'm sure that was not helpful in this process, but I don't know if that meant that, maybe he wasn't as skilled at doing some of these complex sequences, and they had to do some CGI. I don't know. It seems weird to me, given the massive crew that they would have had on a movie like this, that they would have had to adjust for that. But I mean, overall, I liked it. I had, some good stupid laughs at it, but it was not near as satisfying as most of the Fast franchise movies. So John, curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, as I guess I come in second place when it comes to Fast love on this podcast. This was Ryan's first one, right, Ryan?
I think I've watched the third one twice. I know that's the one that's
the worst one.
Irrelevant.
It's Tokyo
Yeah,
Drift.
it's supposedly
Yep,
terrible.
Ryan comes in last when it's on this podcast. I've watched enough of the ones past the fourth one. I think I've watched all the ones past the fourth one, actually.
God, this
and nothing
fucking
before.
Corona is so terrible.
I'm so sorry that you keep drinking it for some reason. But yeah, I've seen everything after the fourth one. I have not seen the first 3, and I don't know that I want to go back. I don't know. That
You don't
I really
need
care.
to. I think the first one is fun. 2 and 3 you can just skip over entirely. I mean, they tried to loop back in the third one and make it be important several times throughout the franchise, but you don't need to see it.
Yeah, I figured as much. And
You really just
so
need to see 5 and onward.
I'm just there for the absurd stunts and the really dumb shit that they do. I've come to understand that it intersects my love of wrestling, both in characters that show up and in the fact that there are a lot of faces and heels, and you can definitely tell when somebody's going to turn. And you just have to be there for it. Be like, okay, yeah, you have to be a total mark for this movie. But the stunts carry you through the rest if you can't get behind that really flimsy character work that's done in it. pretty much every one of those movies is just Vin Diesel being afraid that somebody in his family is going to be kidnapped, and then they are, or they're like somehow punished. They've never stretched beyond that. I thought they would pull some kind of like super sick space heist and steal the moon at some point, but they have yet to do that.
Maybe that's in the third installment of this sub trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. Is it going to be Fast X2, Fast X3?
Oh,
because
God.
that's like the Final Fantasy format.
Final Fantasy numbering, yeah.
I think the next one is Fast Y.
Fast Z. And the Fast Alpha and Omega. But yeah.
11 Fast, 11 Furious.
This one definitely is at the bottom of my list. I mean, we sat and watched it in the same IMAX, Dixon, and we laughed at the same parts because it was stupid. There were some sweet stunts in it that were like smaller scale. Like I know they rolled like a real ball through certain things. That's not a smaller stunt, but it was kind of rad to see some of those pieces. But then like, yeah, when the cars would just turn CG, I was like, oh, okay, it's just a Marvel movie. Sure. I'll just be here for this part until it's done. And then we'll watch the scene where Dom confides that he's afraid he'll lose his family again. Yeah,
the fight scene between Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron was great.
That was great. Yeah. Some of the fight scene choreography is really awesome, but it's like whenever they get to the like real meat of it with the actual car stunts, that it's like, no, like the motorcycle stunts are sick and the fight choreography is rad. Then the car stunts themselves are just garbage, and I don't understand how or why.
I don't, like in the ninth one, they had that whole scene with that fucking magnet, and they're like driving down the road, and the magnet is pulling cars out of parking garages, and they're literally just driving cars out of parking garages. Like they're actually doing it, and it looks so fucking cool. And like there's just nothing that compares to that level of insanity. And like the franchise kind of has to keep one-upping itself, right? And it clearly did not do that in this one.
But overall, yeah, like, I mean, I'm not even going to try to talk about the score or the cinematography. I don't give a shit about that. It didn't satisfy. But when we walked out, I looked at you and I was just like, that was just fucking Infinity War. That was just, there's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
And we were also both confused. I don't know if you knew there was going to be 3 parts for it. I didn't know because when it ended,
I had heard
like,
it was a 2-parter, but then it leaked recently that apparently it's going to be a 3-parter.
What did James Cameron write this fucking shit? Jesus. And yeah, I was just like,
yeah, the next one's underwater.
Oh my God. It was all
That's right.
Fast and Furious Under the Sea.
With Javier Bardem.
They did have a sub, so yeah.
Yeah,
they do have a sub, yeah.
They could do it. Well, Ryan, you're the newbie here for most of the Fast franchise. What did you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, out of context, Fast X, it's
no
got to be weird.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it gives
Ryan's
you
used to anime.
It gives you what you need to know. Yeah, I'm kind of used to anime and stuff, right? So I'm like, the most important new character is when they add it anywhere, like, right? The villain's like someone they retconned in, so it doesn't even really matter. Yeah, they give me enough backstory to go on. So yeah, Darla and I went and saw it. Darla said it was fine. Like, she was like into it. This is kind of is her jam of, in that way, the like, it's there's clearly heroes and villains. You know, you kind of have reasons to cheer for your heroes.
It's got badass women too. She was like,
yeah, it is. Yeah, it has a good number of badass women, and you can kind of turn your mind off for it. Yeah, I have no real frame of reference for anything in it. And it's like chock full of way too many people. From someone coming from the outside, there are just way too many people. And learning that some of those people were brand new to that movie was kind of surprising to me. How many were brand new? Because they didn't have shit to do for like half the cast that was the important cast anyway. I will say I did actually enjoy Jason Momoa just because he was acting in some other movie than this movie and was on some other plane of existence, and had amazing outfits and shit. From as a character, he's just fucking magic. Like, he just somehow had everyone in the world's backgrounds and their children at gunpoint simultaneously. But it's like, but he already had enough people to hold all these people at gunpoint and find out all this information before he even got the other shit. I also don't know how any of the technology worked. I'm assuming some of this shit was established previously, but
like
even
those
then,
bombs
it was just
he
sort of
bounces
hand-waved
off the ground onto the bottom of other cars. Yeah,
he just like drops these bombs on a car, and then there was something that just lets you find anyone in the world or some shit.
You mean God's Eye?
Oh, the God's Eye.
Yeah, whatever the fuck the God's Eye was.
People.
Yes, apparently. But yeah, no, I will say, like, there were moments during the action where I just found my mind wandering and kind of wishing we could get back to Jason Momoa just doing bullshit, because that was so over the top. And then there were moments where I didn't even understand what the scene was happening, and a surprising number of them had Pete Davidson in them.
That's right. Pete Davidson, who gets like a fucking flower thrown in his face or some shit. It's just like, what the fuck? What's happening?
Yeah. I had no idea. Yeah, that whole plot line from after they got tricked or whatever seemed to be completely unrelated to anything, and it sort of barely came back at the end and then didn't really. So yeah, like I will say, yeah, I kind of expected car stunts and car racing, and there was surprisingly little. And it was a lot of CGI, which I kind of was like, oh boy, I don't think this is going to go over well. And there was a lot of fist fighting, which I also thought wasn't really a thing. From a cinematography perspective, part of the reason I haven't watched the previous Fast and the Furious movies is that first one came out in a time where it was cool to like do I don't know how you even call it from the editing standpoint. They're like speed up, slow down as we're like establishing shot of like crowds and cars and shit like that.
Yep.
And a lot of like spinning things around, like
the Michael Bay
camera
spins
around. Yeah. And it all's very sickening to me. And there was a number of that in this movie. Not so much that it was.
But there's lots of butts in those shots, so that's fun.
There are a lot of butts. Yeah, there are a lot of butts in shots that spin around on a butt for a while.
Yeah,
this is also a good example of like where my mind turns off because of the action, but then my mind can't really turn off. So then I'm just sitting there being like, what is the towing capacity of two Chargers? Like, could they actually do that? How would that work? And then I'm like, what is the momentum of this ball? Like, when would it actually just keep going? And then I'm like, how the fuck does that car still drive after all of that shit?
Yep.
Kind of was every scene.
It's a reinforced chassis, Ryan.
Yes. But like other parts of it are not. The chassis is not enough to keep the wheels from like how do those tires not just destroyed all over the place?
It's all built at NASA, Ryan.
I don't know.
They developed all that technology at NASA to help people, Ryan.
To help people.
Yeah. And that giant ball running through the streets of Rome is a bomb. It's this massive bomb that's headed right for the Vatican.
Everyone seemed to know what that bomb was too. Was that established? They're like, oh, it's a neutron, whatever. And I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, okay. Like Ludacris just knows everything. So
I guess
that's the answer to that. But yeah, I mean, the thing is on fire for a good solid 3 or 4 minutes, like raging fire rolling through the streets of Rome. Like nothing can make this bomb explode except for the remote trigger, I guess. Or the timer. That's the only thing. Yep. Like, how did it survive
really
all of this stuff?
Really reinforced. I don't know. We'll have to go check out Oppenheimer to really know how bombs work, I guess.
So yeah, I was overall
let it hit the Vatican. It'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
God's got them covered.
Don't destroy the fish in the river. Don't poison the water supply of this town. Just destroy the Vatican.
Yeah,
is
God
this
can
the
save
first
it.
time
Look at Notre Dame.
Yeah. Is this the first time they've done like massive collateral damage?
No.
And someone noticed? I have to think every time this happens.
Honestly, the
right?
worst part about the ball, Ryan, is that it should have been double the collateral damage of F9. Like, if that ball was not just a neutron bomb, but also the magnet things, and it's pulling fucking cars into the street and shit, I'd be like, all right, fine. They really stacked these. But no.
Yeah, they acted like that was like a worldwide shocking terror event. And I was also like, I'm fairly certain shit like this has happened. Like, did they do that with like the news segment where everyone's like crying
they're constantly
about afterwards, or they just
doing things that make all law enforcement mad at them, and then they have to like do a job for the CIA to get their records cleared, right? So they're constantly like making everyone mad, and then doing a job for them, and then getting their records clean and getting on their good side again, and it's
yeah. I'm sad that you only heard the name Mr. Nobody, but he's played by Kurt Russell.
I did know that. Yeah,
that's right. You've seen the third one, so you know.
No, he's not in that one.
He's not in the third one. No.
Well, he's retconned into that one.
The Han or whatever is in the third one.
Yep.
I don't think anyone else is in that one.
Nope.
And I'm pretty certain he died.
Yep.
So yeah,
he died.
So every piece of information I have
from
the third movie is worthless.
They have relitigated the third movie so many times over the course of the franchise. Like, I mean, they've well established in this universe that no one can die. Like, it's just you see Han explode in a car fire, and then he just comes back several movies later.
Somehow.
Han is now, well, I guess he's come back from that once, because Tokyo Drift is apparently like a sequel to Fast and Furious 7 or something. Like, it's really ridiculous how they've, like, the time doesn't make any sense. Like, if you watch Tokyo Drift and look at the technology, it does not make any sense that it would have taken place at that time. But like, they've brought Michelle Rodriguez back from the dead, like so many characters. Like, I'm convinced that the guy that plays Brian,
No, fuck.
Paul Walker. I'm convinced that Paul Walker is not actually dead, and they're just like hiding him in a studio somewhere, and they're like going to actually raise him from the dead.
Oh, they're going to like Andy Kaufman him.
They haven't killed off his character yet. He still exists in the universe, and they're so Brian's like taking care of the kids. And like, what the hell?
they couldn't even like have the courtesy to show like a newsreel or something where there's like an exploding tower and be like, Brian was in that tower.
No. They can't. Yeah, they can't kill him.
He died on the way back to his planet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I will also say I did really enjoy John Cena. Like, I would definitely say the two highlights of this movie for me were John Cena doing his actual finisher to a guy through a floor. That was awesome. And then John Cena and a child smiling gleefully as they kill people.
Yes.
Like shooting bombs out of a Mad Max car.
Dom's 8-year-old son is now a murderer, I guess,
he's a murderer?
because he's just firing these cannons out of this car. Yeah. And then John Cena has this moment where he like, dies, but clearly does not die because nobody fucking dies in this thing. And it's just it's just to clear a few cars out of Dom's path. It's like this guy, Dom is like the best driver in the world. I'm pretty sure he could have just avoided those cars. Like he didn't really save anything. There was no purpose. He just committed suicide and killed a couple guys, and that was it. Like, really? That's how you're gonna go out? Okay.
Yeah, it didn't reinforce that car the same as the other.
Well, it had cannons on it, so it was probably very
that's
explosive.
true. It probably blew up. Yeah, those cannons were pretty roddy, like pretty put together, pretty shittily apparently, because you got to get a kid to only because he spent so long making it so they could rotate only to do that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
One thing, I guess. Yeah,
it's pretty sick. He's got cannons that do this, Ryan. Not this.
Not this. Yeah. Speaking of Jason Momoa's magic powers, he gets like 200 of the exact same car that he gives to a bunch of mercenaries to chase John Cena. Like there were so many times where I was just like, what are the logistics behind his operation?
I don't like, and what has he been doing for 12 years, right? Like he has been holding this grudge since 2011 when Fast 5 came out, and now is finally exacting his revenge. Has he been like robbing the world in order to afford this massive enterprise? And now he's finally rich enough to be able to do it. Like, I don't know.
You know what I would have enjoyed a lot more, and they did a little bit of it, was they had that whole room with the new Mr. Nobody, whoever the fuck that guy is. I know that actor.
Yeah, I guess they were waiting on that guy to, maybe they've been waiting until he got power like that. And then
there's something like that. But like, this started to get into that area where are they going to cross over with the John Wick world? Because like they had all those shadow people that were like, I vote yes. And I was oh shit. I know they're not going to, but Fast has so much potential to be X as the crossroads of other franchises. And then it wasn't. Like put Vin Diesel in a DeLorean and you've got Ryan's fucking time travel story. Like, there you go. Next. Boom. Whatever.
Dude, that room, there's so many moments I want to just like drill into for hours on their own. That fucking room with all the different monitors just all over the place. Like I had fucking no idea. I'm like, what is that for? And then, and then he has the like, it made me think of the guys from Ava, Nerve or whatever is the same thing. It's like these shadow people that actually run the
shadow
organization.
Council.
Yeah, the like shadow council that runs it. Or the
are we not going to talk about the Fincher Brothers prison that they put Michelle Rodriguez in?
Yes, in Antarctica
with like gigantic blocks that move.
and in that crazy ass prison, like one, I don't understand Cypher's magic powers that she fucking has either. That was
she pulled like an aux cable and it hacked the entire ventilation system.
Yeah, it hacked everything.
Yeah, Cypher is like the greatest hacker in the world, and that's her.
But you can still only hack like the things that are connected.
Oh no, I understand with the absurdity that she could just pull a cable and all the power goes out. Like, yeah.
But they go over to escape, right? Before they have their fist fight, and she needs Michelle Rodriguez because you have to simultaneously like pull these two levers, not to open the big fucking door that those levers are, but to open a hatch in the ceiling.
Yep. A
hatch that then is just straight vertical. Nothing, no handholds, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you open it up and it's like you're in the thing. It's just in the middle of Antarctica. And I'm like, that has to be closed and locked. And that's their escape route that they can't just like, hey, they're going up the tunnel. Like somebody go out there and just wait by the hole. Like, and then Michelle Rodriguez climbs all the way up it and then all the way back down. And meanwhile, no one has come to check on the
There's also one point
medical
where,
center.
like, before Michelle Rodriguez attacks Charlize Theron, she's like, "How much time do we have?" And Charlize Theron's like, 4 minutes. She's like, "Well, I guess that'll have to do." And they get in this huge fight. She knocks her out. She climbs to the top of the thing. She realizes she's in the middle of Antarctica. She comes back down. They change clothes into warm clothes. They go back out. Like, nobody is. Where were the 4 minutes? That was just thrown away completely.
Yeah,
yeah.
Nobody ever came back.
It was like those last 3 seconds of Space Jam. That shot.
It's an eternity for
Stretching
Michael
the
to stretch
arm
his
forever,
arm.
yeah.
Yeah. I did feel like constantly having no frame of reference to it. I was just like awash in bullshit that I had no, because they're just like, they offhand comment, they're like, oh, they were racing cars and then they stole a nuclear sub. And I was like, fucking what? And then it pops back up at the end and I'm like, okay, I guess, yeah, they have a nuclear sub somehow.
Yeah. Did you enjoy how they lampshaded everything, Ryan? How they were like,
pretty much,
somehow they just completely defy physics. Somehow Palpatine's returned. Like, I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter.
And I had no idea who that girl was in Brazil even after my wife.
Are you talking about the sister?
Oh, that was a new character.
Is it the sister? Right, but is it
She's
the sister of his wife that got shot?
Yeah, of Dom's kid's mom, who is allegedly
Okay.
dead. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Mm-hmm. And he was only with that woman because Michelle Rodriguez was dead at the time. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that wasn't really apparent to me that he gave an actual shit about his wife being dead previously.
Yeah.
Because for a good chunk of the movie, I was trying to figure out, I was like, that's his and Michelle Rodriguez's kid? And then it was like, oh no, here's the other mom.
Nope.
I was like, okay. And I was like, but then he's just with Michelle Rodriguez now and everything's like great. Everything's wonderful.
Well, Michelle Rodriguez was his original girlfriend from like the first movie, and they were, grew up together. And then she died, and then he got with this other woman and had a kid. And then Michelle Rodriguez came back to life, and then conveniently his kid's mom died, so he didn't have to try to juggle that nightmare.
Yeah. Are we?
That works.
Are we not going to talk about how it wasted the reveal of Jason Statham? Like, it was just the most flat fucking shit.
Why did they even put him in the movie?
There were so many scenes. There were so many scenes like that where I was just like, what is the point of this?
Because they
literally
felt
first
like,
off, all right, hold on.
Yeah,
so
go
they
on.
go talk
Go.
to Pete Davidson for no fucking reason,
Yep.
right? He's supposed to give him some technology or some shit. I don't even remember. So they
And
can
then he rats him
get
out.
back. Apparently,
John
Tyrese
Wick's
just
the same.
has
Yeah.
cash on him all the time.
Yep.
Like he has to wear that vest all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just always has like $100 grand taped to his chest.
More than that. That had
Probably
to be.
more. It was all
Yeah.
hundos, right? Yeah.
He had a
And so they go
conversation
to
in
Pete
Fast 9,
Davidson.
Ryan, about how he can take any bullet and he won't die. And like, I would have thought that they would try to at least reference that when he put the cash on, where he's like, you know what? I just decided I was never going to get shot, so I might as well just carry my money around. It's never going to get shot either. Like, but no, they didn't. They didn't do any of that shit.
Yeah, no.
Anyways, I yield the floor, Senator.
So so they go to Pete Davidson to question Mark. He turns him in because fucking whatever. So that whole scene ends up being worthless.
Completely pointless. Yep.
I think Ramsey took a computer, but it wasn't entirely clear. But that
Yeah.
also didn't fucking matter because then they go fist fight with the Shaw, I guess.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Statham,
who has a guy in a bag that he's punching that also is irrelevant.
That's how you know he's a good guy, Ryan.
There was a post-credit scene in Fast 9 that had like set up that scene of Statham punching this guy in this bag, and I don't think it really had any context to it. I think they showed Han coming in and be like, "Oh shit, we have to fight now because you tried to kill me."
It's just a gag.
But then they just reference it very briefly, and they don't really fight for that long. And I don't know. It was
they don't fight for very long,
superfluous.
and then they were just like, he's pretty much just like, you can use my plane. I guess is that You
know what I would have liked more out of that scene, and I'm going to say it a lot with anything in this movie, is if Shaw had been set up, if they're going to keep him a mystery, have Jason Momoa offer to pay Shaw to take fucking Vin Diesel's family down again, like reinvigorate that rivalry. Have him like be this mystery agent or whatever the fuck. Jason Momoa's fitted him out with whatever. And then in the middle of the movie, have him revealed and be like, oh fuck, it's Shaw. And like, he's bad again and whatever the fuck. And then they could do like the turn one more time. Have him become the face at the end of it or something.
I'm always in favor of more Jason Statham.
Yeah.
He was hardly in this thing, which was disappointing.
It would have, instead of doing fucking Dwayne Johnson reveal at the very end of it, they could have done fucking it was Shaw. And then in the next one, it'd be like, oh shit, Shaw's coming back in this one as the main bad guy that's working for Jason Momoa or something. And now we know who it is. I don't know. It just, So instead of showing a dude punching a punching bag and being like, that's Jason Statham, I know immediately because there's like no hair flowing and any of those punches coming out of that hoodie that's silhouetted. Who else could it be? Yeah. Well, Ryan, what else you got grievances with? I know you're on the clock here.
Yeah, I am probably gonna have to like let you guys actually talk about the movie, since all I can do is probably lose my mind about every time you bring something up. Yeah, I mean, mainly it was that I just kind of sat there and was like constantly. So the difference is, I also went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3. John, you and I talked about that, and I actually feel like I didn't have any time wasted in that movie, because I kind of felt like every scene did serve some kind of purpose and keep things going. There was, the comedy. Surprisingly, in that one, there was less comedy undercutting the serious moments. It did kind of stick to the serious moments at certain times. But it all kind of came together and made sense, and my characters kind of went somewhere. I guess the characters in this are supposed to go somewhere in the next movie, or they just don't in Fast and Furious movies. I don't really know. Like, the only character thing we had is Roman, I guess, was shitty leader, and then they were okay with it at the end.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of
it.
character development in these things.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of really cool action set pieces, and there's some really stupid, hilarious dialogue, and that's really what you come for,
Yeah.
I will say I laughed. Like, there were definitely things like I laughed and I did enjoy myself. Like, I don't know that my time was like wasted going and seeing it. Like, it's not like that, where it's not like Cocaine Bear. Where there was like one funny part of it and the rest of it was sort of like a waste of my life. I was like, I enjoyed it. I watched it. I laughed, but I'm like, it still kind of is like, yeah, it's kind of what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I do agree. Like, it was over CGI'd. It was never bad CGI. Like, I'll say.
No, but it was just jarring for this franchise. It made me upset seeing that.
I definitely feel like if I go see a Marvel movie, I expect the bullshit, because it's like, it's in space, or whatever. People have ridiculous powers, suits or whatever. But when I see Mad Max, I want to see actual fucking cars and actual fucking effects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this should be more grounded. The technology makes this a whole, I don't even understand what world this takes place in. But I would expect this to be a bit more like grounded action. Like, I feel like they're actually punching each other, falling over, blowing up cars or whatever, like real explosions, real flames. Like, I would want to see. So I was kind of disappointed in that. But yeah, and then I was also, the last gripe I had was like, okay, so the not Mr. Nobody is evil. Great.
Yeah.
But even before we as an audience know that he is evil.
Right. And then he kind of turns good for 10 minutes, and then you immediately realize that,
and then he's immediately over it. Yeah. He just turns whatever the hell the organization is. I don't know what governments are sanctioned by or not, but they have little American
CIA,
flags.
I don't know.
Yeah, they have little American flags on their thing, but they're completely covered, so we feel okay when John Cena shoots them all.
Yes.
Yep.
And blows up their cars or whatever. Like, there were so many nameless hordes that I was like, those people have families. I got it when it was like the mercenaries. They show that he bought off a bunch of mercenaries. But still, they're like, they're American soldiers.
Dude, Brian,
they're not soldiers. They work for the CIA.
Or police. That's kind of a police force. It's still, right, a peace
Brian,
officer.
are you working on a Batman v Superman opening for Fast X2 where they show a man being murdered
it's like
by
we
Dom?
retcon in a guy who's a regular
Ben
guy
Affleck
who
stares
watched all of his
angrily at
friends
Dom as he
died.
grips his dying son.
Yes, yeah. He's gonna be like the Punisher.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want like a Punisher. He's like, oh, we got to go even further. We're not taking it far enough in the
Get John
organization.
Bernthal in here. That was one of his buddies who thought he was doing the right thing.
He would be a good fit in the series.
You could put him in this. That would work. Yeah. So like I kind of gave up pretty early on in the movie. The problem was I definitely sat through some action scenes and was just kind of like, okay, it's happening. Like, tell me whenever
it happened
is
to me.
that ends. Yeah, it happened to me. And there was also like moments where I think as an outside viewer, it gave you what you needed to know to a certain extent. But when he goes to race in Rio, I'm like, does he know either of those people? It seems like he's buddies with that guy. But they know other people too, like Pete Davidson, right? Where it's like, oh, they knew him from before, but I know he wasn't in the other movies.
Yeah.
So then that guy like blows up or whatever, his car blows up. And I'm like, was that important?
Did I feel anything?
Was he a guy?
Nope.
Was I supposed to feel something there?
Nope. It's
Okay.
possible that he was in Fast 5 or something like that. One took place in Rio,
like
so it's possible he
5
was
seconds.
like a callback from there, but I don't remember him.
Yeah,
and I watched
okay.
that movie like within the last year.
I
don't
I
know.
did. My immediate thought was like, "Oh, Dom saves the girl." Okay, I see where you're at, Dom. And it was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I knew from right away that you were her sister or whatever." I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't know how because
Bullshit.
yeah, I was like, I don't know how because those pictures do not
Because
look
the writers
same.
told me.
You just have a kind soul.
Yeah, right. I enjoyed those thugs right outside her apartment that went after that guy who
Yes.
has like 9 necks. Like that guy is
Yeah.
all upper body and neck.
There's a fucking great wood
Yeah.
tree stump as a neck.
And the kids from the City of God think they can take that guy down.
Ryan, I would recommend you watch 5 through 7 because that's like really the peak of the franchise. And 8 and 9 are really good too, but they're a little bit worse than those. And like it is everything the franchise is supposed to be is within those. Like it's the effects like are all practical. It looks so great. I mean, there's obviously stuff that is defying the laws of physics, but like it just looks really good. And the dialogue is at its cheesiest and stupidest and most hilarious when intentionally and unintentionally. So that's kind of like I feel like that's what the franchise has been trying to get back to since then. And 8 and 9 were successful enough. I liked them a lot, but 10 was definitely a step down.
Down. I do intend to go back and watch them like Darla wanted to. I actually, honestly, at the end of this was like, I kind of want to watch whatever the next one is. Like they set up enough shit that I'm like, well, I want to see where that goes. Like I had no
How are
idea.
they going to bring all these people back from the dead?
Yeah, I thought the movie was going to be compartmentalized. So I honestly was surprised that I was like, oh, there's more shit. Like, okay. I kind of thought they were just going to kill him and then it was going to end. Like there didn't really need to be resolution beyond that. So I was kind of surprised that we left hanging. Darla debated if we need to watch them backwards. She was like, that actually might be entertaining to go backwards and then like slowly get information.
I feel like that's just going to make you angry and confused.
Probably continue to confuse me, but I do intend to watch them. I will get them in bit by bit and I will update you listeners.
But if you want to just get caught up on the current stuff, you could literally just start with 5 and move forward. And like you can go back to 1 through 4 if you want to.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, I get the impression there was some point where it was a car. Yeah, you watched Reservation Dog. I knew that you would complete that and I wouldn't complete anything I said. There was a point where it was car racing and then there was a point where it turned into a different movie franchise. It's like from Jarhead to Jarhead 2. Like, I knew
5 is where it turned into an action franchise.
Yes. Very true. Well, Ryan, I know you got to run.
I do have to bounce.
Very quickly, do you recommend this movie, Ryan?
No.
You heard it here, folks. Yes, with a question mark.
Well, it feels like one of those Marvel. It is like the Marvel movies where it's, I'm like, I really enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and I had a lot of heart and is actually probably one of the better ones. But would I tell Dixon to go watch it? No, because I know he's going to go and be like, fucking Marvel movies. Which to that end, I'm like, you either know you want to watch a Marvel movie or you don't. I'm like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, and I guess from an entry point, looking at it as like completely like, is this an entry point? No, I don't think if you have absolutely no fast action, you're like, I'm going to get into these. This is probably not the one.
Yeah, no, you got to have context to jump into this one.
Especially if you watch it and then you enjoyed it and you go back and you're like, well, none of this shit. Like, what? That didn't happen in Fast 5. He wasn't there. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's also one of the, thank you for joining us, Ryan. And yes. I will add to your statement after you leave.
Yeah, Ryan has to go deal with a family thing. It's all about family for him.
It is a lot about family. Today was quite filled with actual
Ryan doesn't have friends. He's got family.
So, all right, cool. Yeah, you guys keep it going for me.
All right. All right. See you later, buddy.
Fuck you. Building on Ryan's point about he was talking about the beginning was like all this Fast 5 stuff that they're like retconning and putting Jason Momoa into those scenes. I think that was one of the I kind of knew the movie was weak off the start when the first 10 minutes are just some of the coolest scenes from Fast 5.
Oh, yeah, you mean the Rocky 4
I've already
effect?
seen these in another movie that was great. Like, I came here to see the next movie, not one of the ones I already saw. But those scenes were just made worse by putting in a bunch of characters talking about bullshit that I didn't care about. Hernan Reyes and what's Jason Momoa's name? Something Reyes.
I don't fucking remember.
Who cares? Jason Momoa talking about like the importance of like family criminal dynasties and shit. Like, I don't fucking care.
Dante, that was his
Dante
name.
Reyes.
Yeah. Whatever.
And so they were taking all these badass, scenes from Fast Five of them driving these massive safes through the streets of Rio and inserting these conversations between this family that we've never really known much about or cared about through the whole franchise. And so then finally, they get done with that and start the real movie. And I was like, I feel like this is a bad sign.
Yeah,
they're leaning so much on a previous movie.
I had the deepest fear that this would be like Rocky IV, where every like 15 minutes there was a montage from another Fast movie.
Yeah.
And they would show that.
If only there was a birthday robot.
Yeah, right? That somebody was fucking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is that, like Roman's girlfriend? They have him talking about how he can't get respect in driving an RC car that he also fucks on the side. Yeah, I definitely had that same. Also, like the racing sequence, I remember from the trailers seeing like Jason Momoa being like, "You want to race, Dom Toretto?" And like, I was like, "Oh, they're going to get back to the racing roots of the franchise
for about
like,
10 minutes.
Have a nice bookend to it." But then even that, they like fucking Ryan Johnson their way out when they like subvert it. And they're like, no, he's just a joker. He put like fucking bombs underneath these cars. Yeah. There's not even like a real street race. I expected Dante to play dirty in that race. I didn't expect it to be a moral dilemma. It was like the accelerated Dark Knight version of the boats. Like, who are you going to save kind of shit? It was just like, what the fuck? Why would you undercut this cool racing sequence to put, it was almost like I just imagined a lot of fans being like, oh, this will be rad. If they can do the action and the racing in the same movie, bring it back. Sure. Fucking A. And then they were just like, nah, we'll just do fucking action in the middle of this race. Like 30 seconds in.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Don't even care.
Yeah. It was just, I mean, like there is good stuff in this movie. Like we've been, hammering it pretty hard. Like the line that you keep referencing, John, I thought was hilarious when yes. Ramsey, who's, this coder who created the God's Eye, which is from the 6th movie, I believe, which is just a network, basically some sort of magic code that can hack into every camera on any device in the entire world and give whoever is wielding it the ability to have mass surveillance and see anything in the world they want, like search somebody's face and find them immediately. Like some terrifying Orwellian shit. And she's, then Dante gets it. Like it was in the hands of bad people in the 6th one, and they had to save it from them to give it to the CIA. I'm sure they're doing wonderful things with that.
Oh, yeah.
And then it gets in the hands of Dante, and he's using it to track them down. And Ramsey's like, my tech that I invented is in the hands of the bad people. They're using it for bad things. I meant it for good. It's like, you designed a mass surveillance program for good? What the fuck is wrong with you? What kind of awful politics do you have? Jesus Christ.
God, my anti-personnel cannon? It's in the hands of the enemy? They're using it to hurt good people?
I invented the nuclear bomb to save lives.
Smith and Wesson was founded on the Hippocratic Oath. Yeah.
Do no harm to anyone but paper targets.
That's right.
And like there's stuff like that like unclear if like that's the franchise is really famous for having these hilarious lines of dialogue where you're not sure if they're intended to be funny or not. And like that's kind of what makes the franchise fun is the kind of the stupidity of it. And there were some good lines like that throughout, but not at the rapid fire that they normally come in the franchise. And there were some cool action set pieces, but just really wished that they had used more practical stuff and not relied so heavily on CGI. But like I had a good time with it in IMAX, like, for 2 hours and 20 minutes, but like I don't know that I'll ever watch this one again. I have watched all the other ones again. When I had COVID like a year and a half ago, I had COVID brain. I couldn't focus on anything. So I just watched all the Fast and Furious movies in a row because that's the only thing, like that's the level of intellectual entertainment that I could handle at the time.
Yeah, I don't think that I'll watch this one again either. What I will watch when all 3 of these, whatever the fuck this conclusion is, comes out, who knows if it's an actual conclusion is, I'll watch the super cut somebody makes because I know there's going to be like a 4-hour fan cut where they do a really good job editing in like things as flashbacks, and they'll fix the pacing and all this other shit will be fine. But yeah, I wouldn't go back and watch this one for the 2 hours and 20 minutes that it was, because I felt like at times it did that for me with Fast 9. The franchise already started to, it's almost like they took a sharp turn, not even a sharp turn, but they took a sharp enough turn to tilt the car onto two wheels, and they continue to border on parody. Like they're getting closer and closer to this almost like a Zucker Brothers-esque fucking weird comedy, because like at one point
it is a little too self-aware.
We both laughed whenever Dom was like, I'm afraid, he thinks I'm not afraid, but I'm afraid of losing my son and my wife. And we were both like, it fucking already happened. Like,
both of those things have already happened to you.
It's like, if you lost them, apparently you just get them back again, except for your one wife who's had her brains fucking splattered by a cipher, but she'll be back because turned out it was her twin and her as a plant by Mr. Nobody, who, and they'll explain that away and be like, it's okay, she wasn't even a real person. So you'll be like, what the fuck?
Turns out she was a hologram the whole time.
Oh man. Yeah, there were so many parts in this movie that I was just like, okay, speed it up. Like, we need to get past whatever you think you're trying to do, where it felt like they were almost attempting to ground us after 9 other insane movies in some kind of character development that wasn't really happening. Like Roman's whole mission thing and him being like, I really fucked up, guys. I'm sorry. And then Ludacris just being like, nah, that's what a leader does, admits that he fucked up. And then they continue to have Roman be like a leader though. And there's not really a lesson to that other than it's cool if you fuck up, man.
That's also like a recurring thing that they keep doing. Like that's the only character trait that Roman has, is like he wants to be the alpha of the group, but clearly Dom is and nobody respects him. And like they just keep running that through over and over. And if they're not drawing as much attention to it, it's a funny dynamic. But when they just like laser in on it and have him bitch about how nobody respects him and stuff, it just gets like, it's just kind of not funny anymore. Like it's hilarious to see him and Ludacris go back and forth, and Ludacris just make fun of him constantly and rip him. And like, that's pretty good. Pretty good dynamic. Like they play well off each other. But when you're just focusing on Tyrese's insecurities and that he can't, be the head guy, it's just kind of dumb.
It's a played up gag, and it just runs dry real fast. So yeah, like there are those moments, and I felt like Jason Momoa could have had so many more cool villain. I don't care about the Joker thing as much. Like if he wants to do that as his persona, fine. But like, I expected this movie to at least have one sequence. I don't know if you did, where they do a needle drop and he fucking dances and shoots a bunch of dudes or does some fucking crazy shit, at least in the middle of the street.
Go along with that kind of character.
Yeah. And he never did. He always just kind of was like, Dommy boy. And that was like it. That was like his bit. And I was just like, at least do something fucking wild that as a villain would be.
I actually didn't really like Momoa in the role. Like he was okay, but I didn't really buy the level of unhinged that he was trying to play. Like they needed like a crazier actor, I think, to kind of pull that off. Nick Cage, so somebody like that would have been great. But I don't know. I just didn't really. But I mean, part of it was like the character just wasn't really well thought out or well written. And I don't know, some of this, maybe some of these issues, maybe because Justin Lin pulled out of it. Some of them maybe because like, I don't, we were joking about all this drama on Twitter between Vin Diesel and The Rock about how, The Rock not wanting to do the movie. And they were saying they were going to have to like rewrite the script and all this stuff. So maybe that played into it, but spoiler alert, if you have not seen this movie, The Rock shows up in the post-credit sequence and you're like, wait a minute, was that all just like to drum up interest in this movie online? But if so, that was done like 2 years before it came out. So I don't know what the purpose of that would be. But they pulled him back into the movie at the very end, and it seemed to be bringing him into the next one as a major character. So
I thought it was either that or they were bringing him into a spinoff where Jason Momoa is now going to do a Vin Diesel movie and a Rock movie.
It could be.
And they'll have an occasional, maybe they won't be on the same set, because if there is that drama, they won't be there, but they'll nod at a green screen and they'll fucking just superimpose that shit in the background like they did with these horrible through the car sequences with the cameras where it was like Speed Racer.
Those
Jesus
scenes
Christ.
were so bad. And like in the first movie, they did some of that stuff, and that was cool at the time. Like it's 2001, and but they weren't that long. Right? It's right. Like, oh, when you push the NOS button, they like zoom into the engine with CGI and you see the NOS like injecting into the engine and having an effect on the, the engine sparking and the wheels turning more quickly and that can be cool in a very short edit. But like, there was this scene that was going on for like fucking 15 seconds where you're just moving in and around the car in CGI for no apparent reason. Like, and they do the thing where they go into the engine, but then they came out and they just kind of kept moving around in a weird way that was
like
just
the intro sequence to a Mario Kart track or some shit.
It was almost like vomit inducing, like the way they were doing. I was like, what are you even doing?
You want to talk about vomit inducing? I felt like the editing too in this movie, it was like a Paul W.S. Anderson movie. I had like fucking flashbacks to watching the Resident Evil franchise and just being like, fuck, just stop. Whatever's happening now, I need a cut to take longer than 10 seconds. Like just anywhere here, please.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they're able to pull this together into the next one or two, however many of these goddamn things there are. And like, it feels like the type of franchise where the movie where they all, spoiler, where like half the cast dies at the end and there's just being fucked up by the villain. Like that's just not going to be very satisfying from a story standpoint for this type of franchise where like they always win every time. There's no emotional weight really in this thing. And so it doesn't really work when these characters are going through these hardships. So maybe on the other side, like coming through this and them actually like, being able to defeat the villain will be a more satisfying story arc. But I don't know. I mean, like, and if The Rock is back, great. But you're to your point, they might be just setting up separate stories where Momoa is just the villain in like the Hobbs and Shaw movies.
Yeah.
And the Fast movies, but that would be weird. I don't know.
They do like a prequel in between thing or something. Yeah, I don't know. I just know that like there's like 3 directions I feel this franchise can go in. One is the least likely, where they just make it like as fucking annoying as possible with how like they try to do the emotional stakes. None of them work out. The other is they actually go through with the emotional stakes and it feels fucking wrong and weird. And then the other one is they split off into like these multiple franchises. And I don't see it coming back story wise. So the only hope is like that the stunt work and the other things that they can work into these like this trilogy conclusion could be gratifying enough for you to be like, okay, if all you need to know is like the 5-minute condensed version of Fast X, then go watch these other 2 and it's great. And Momo is the bad guy and you don't have to give a shit about the other stuff.
Right.
And so just like, it really seems like they put themselves into this weird corner where they thought they were doing something clever, or maybe the director just doesn't fucking know what he's doing. I have no idea.
It seems like a script problem to me. And so I don't like, and Justin Lin is definitely the, person who has directed the most Fast movies and the best Fast movies. And so, seeing him pull out with creative differences with Vin Diesel, like it seemed like Vin Diesel just seems like kind of a terrible person to work with. Like apparently he showed up 15 pounds overweight on set and was just like showing up late to, every time they needed to film and like just kind of being a prima donna. Justin Lin was like, I can't fucking deal with this anymore. And he just left. But I don't know, like it seems more like a script problem than a direction problem to me. They're definitely like, it could have been directed better for sure.
Yeah.
But most of my issues, I think, are script problems. Like they're introducing way too many new characters. They're not focusing a ton on the existing characters. And they're just like, there's too many things going on in too many locations. Like you'll be on Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron, and then you leave them for half an hour and you come back like, oh wait, they're still right there.
There's like 8 minutes of
no
them.
time has lapsed in this world, but you got all this other shit going on. Like Dom has gone to Rio, but Michelle Rodriguez is still like in that room fighting Charlize Theron. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's an editing nightmare, but I feel like it's just because they tried to do way too many things and spread it so thin. And like the best of the franchise, I think, are when they keep the core group together in one location and they're doing crazy shit. And you don't have to spread everybody all over the world and have all this, weird shit going on.
Yeah. I can only hope that it gets better. But who knows? the like 5-year-old they've locked in a room that writes this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Just needs to take another writing course, I guess. I don't know. Play with different Hot Wheels cars, smash them up some way. Who knows? I love the fucking The Onion, like Today Now, where they interview the kid who wrote Fast Five, like 7 years old, and he's just like, I love when the cars go boom and do these other things. And I'm like,
that's Vin Diesel.
Yeah, it's just Vin Diesel's.
And that's like we talked about earlier, how the franchise is getting a little bit too self-aware. And I think the reason that they have been so good is actually Vin Diesel, because he's producing all these things. And Vin Diesel does not have a cynical bone in his body.
Yeah.
Like, he is a 5-year-old child who likes to see cars go vroom. And he thinks that there is emotional weight in these characters, right? Like, you know, the family coming together, like there's meaning in that. And he thinks like he legitimately was pushing for Furious 7 to get a Best Picture nomination. Like,
that's amazing.
He absolutely believes that this is like high art, great cinema. And I think that's why these work for the most part, because they're so sincere. And you have these lines that are so stupid and you're laughing at them so hard. And you're like, I feel like Vin is pushing for sincerity and all this, and there's probably one producer or one writer who knows how dumb it is and is playing into those tendencies of Vin to make it seem stupider and stupider. And it just feels like that combination worked really well. And then with this, I don't know, just like there just wasn't enough of that kind of dialogue, and they just went away from, you know, kind of the things that made the franchise so great. So hopefully they can get back to what they were doing. Maybe they can get Justin Lin back to direct the next one if he can patch up his issues with Vin. But yeah, we'll see.
Maybe it was a publicity thing. Maybe it was just to show you how bad a Fast could be without Justin Lin, because Justin Lin wanted to flex, and now they can bring him back.
He was still he still got a writing credit and a producing credit on it.
Okay. Well, never mind.
So like he was still involved. He just didn't direct it anymore at that point.
He was just like, fuck that. Yeah. Well, I'm curious because we talked about how Fast pivoted from being about racing to about action, just a straight up action movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another like genre? Because we were also talking about the God's Eye and like these MacGuffins. For some reason, I love to blend all genres into Fast. I would love to see Fast do something really weird where Vin Diesel, maybe not Vin Diesel, but like his son becomes like the Indiana Jones of car culture, where he's like, I heard about this thing that you could get. If you do whatever, we got to pull a heist and like get this fucking artifact that the fucking CIA needs, just some shit. And it just becomes that. Have you given like any thought to, I don't know, some fucking wild Fast shit you would want to see? So like a particular storyline, you would be like, this would be hilarious if it was in the Fast world.
I mean, everybody has always said like, we want to see these people go to space, and then they did it in Fast 9, but it almost felt like cheating. Like they barely got into space. They were in like Jeff Bezos level space and like the lower orbit, you know,
like a Geo or something.
Past where commercial jets fly, but not really like, you know, in outer space. Would love to see them have to like, you know, oh like God, there are terrorists on the moon. We have to go solve this problem. You know, the CIA is sending them out there to fight an alien invasion or something. Would be fucking hilarious. And they have space cars like that. That'd be fucking great.
Dude, that scene from Ad Astra could be really fucking rad.
That pirate chase on the moon is so good in Ad Astra.
Hell yeah, that could be fucking dope.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great.
Oh, dude. Oh, that would be.
And then just like I really, really want to see Nicolas Cage in these movies. Like he's tailor-made for this kind of shit, and I just feel like it would be so good to bring him in as a villain or something in these movies.
I heard they're doing that. Aren't they doing a sequel to Lord of War?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they're doing one.
Interesting.
Sometime soon, and I'm just like, you know, it'd be great to have Nicolas Cage be a warlord who shows up in the Fast franchise.
Yeah.
Some fucking crazy shit. That would be fantastic. Nick Cage is made for this.
Yeah. Would be incredible.
Dude, he did Gone in 60 Seconds. Like, come on.
He's done it. He did all his own driving stunts in Gone in 60 Seconds, as we learned in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. I think that we've talked out Fast X.
Yeah. There's not a lot here, unfortunately. But, I mean, like, if you like the Fast and the Furious movies, you should go see it, because like, I'm hoping that I feel like this is just kind of the worst result we could possibly have. and I assume it has to get better.
Look, you gotta have your valleys.
We're going from
to
these.
Appreciate your peaks, right?
And again, I did like it. So, but I'm also a person who just really likes this franchise.
And I really like schlock, so I enjoyed it too.
There you go. Yeah. It's a crossover. Yeah.
It's the Fast X. It's the crossroads of appreciation.
But as far as like other genres for them to take on, I have not really thought
it's awful.
much about that. Oh yeah, you're going back to that Corona.
Yeah, sorry. Ugh. I don't know why I let it sit and get warm.
I mean, it can't get worse. Corona is, in my opinion, the worst beer I have ever tasted. It's really bad, but it tastes like family.
It tastes like, and everybody knows family tastes like piss.
Yeah.
That's the Corona slogan.
I can't really think of any other like genres that Fast could pull off. I'm thinking like it would be funny and stupid to see them do like a noir detective story, or like a rom-com or something would be like kind of funny and dumb. But I don't know that it would really work.
You know what? I would love to actually see, legitimately, this would be, I think, really cool for the Fast franchise. And it's not one of my gag things, but like if they did an anthology series where they brought directors in to do different Fast interpretations with speed and racing, or like some kind of, summer heists and some of the actual race, and they try to capture that thrill, kind of like the Animatrix did or something. That could be pretty fucking rad. And they wouldn't have to have Vin Diesel in as many of those. They would just have him in the background somewhere. And then they could focus on other cool car stunts, and they wouldn't have to string it all together with some dumb plot about family and whatever. They could still do family, obviously, is the through line. Vin Diesel produces it, so he'd make the decision. But I think that'd be cool. And that'd get to be an opportunity to explore other directors' visions for it. Namely, because this movie made me think about Michael Bay. Michael Bay's Fast and the Furious would be a totally different film. Be way more patriotic.
It would be. I don't know that I would like that movie.
There would be military people driving cars fast, and it would look cool because America. But yeah, Transformers somewhere.
There would be lots of big boobed women.
Yes, there would.
of questionable age.
Megan Fox would drop the race flag. Yeah. But there's
it's that Simpsons episode where Snake is doing a street racing, and he has he's like doing the out at the starting line, and he's like, when I pull down my girlfriend's tube top, everybody go. She's like, he's like, I'm just trying to bring you into my world. That would be the Michael Bay version.
Oh my god, I only remember the other thing where did Homer buy his car at one point? Somebody bought Snake's car, and they fucking like put unleaded in it, and he's like, dude, she needs premium. So he like drives off. Fucking love Snake. Oh man. Yeah, but the anthology thing would be kind of cool. And beyond that, I really don't know. I feel like Fast has the potential. I know that it wouldn't match with any genre, like a rom-com or the Indiana Jones thing or something, but you could still do it, I feel like, and it would be kind of fun. I never saw Hobbs and Shaw. I assume it's not anything like a Fast and the Furious.
It's not great. I mean, Hobbs and Shaw is around the quality of Fast 10. It's not great. I had high hopes for it because the first half of the movie is just insult humor between The Rock and Jason Statham.
It's a buddy cop thing.
That sounds great. Like, let's do that. And it was so badly written. The jokes were not anywhere close to funny. And I was just like, oh man. And then in the second half of the movie, they amp up the action and it gets batshit insane, and it works. And at the end of the day, I liked it, but it's kind of along the lines of Fast 10. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love to see other parodies, genres, anything that has like Fast injected into it. It was just like Ryan's suggestion of they go back in time or something. I'm like, oh yeah, Back to the Future and Fast, that could work. Vin ends up in a totally different racing culture in the past where it's a bunch of like Model Ts and shit. And he torques out something. I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter to me. But like don't touch the main temple, the dynasty of current Fast movies. Just start making spinoffs and make them weird.
You know what they should do is have like car pro wrestling.
Oh, hell yeah.
And have get Dom and like Statham in a monster truck ring with like whatever, fast car they choose, and they can't leave the car, and they're just trying to destroy the other car and get them to give up or kill them. I thought
you were going to say they should it pits a man versus a car. It just goes interdimensional cable.
Versus a regular old car.
He's got the upper hand. Oh, it looks like the car wins. Wouldn't that always be the case? Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to hear from everybody out there. What's your dream Fast fan fiction? What's your fucking genre that Fast could branch into? Because at this point, it's starting to get a little stale if they don't do the real stunts anymore. So why not just branch genres? Fucking see what happens.
It's just so I loved the Fast movies because they're like the anti-Marvel, and now this one is just very similar to Marvel.
It's like, too close. It's getting too close. For comfort. Yeah. They just woo. Well, you want to bring us home?
Yeah. So John, would you recommend this movie?
I think I would. Honestly, I've recommended worse.
You definitely have.
and at this point, it was something that it gave me a good few laughs, had some really solid fight choreography to it. There were some pretty nice practical stunts in the middle of it. That fucking sick motorcycle thing where the beam comes down and they like just do a one wheelie hop over it and turn around and keep going. I was like, holy shit, they did that shit for
Michelle
real.
Rodriguez on it.
Yeah.
That was really cool. The scene with the helicopters was pretty badass too.
Yeah. And I liked those moments. The CGI stuff, I didn't give too much of a shit about. The John Cena stuff I loved. I was all about those parts of it. And it was big, dumb fun. To Ryan's point, if you're going to watch a Fast movie, you know what you're getting into. I wouldn't recommend this as the first Fast movie you watch, obviously.
No.
But I'd still recommend it. It was fun schlock. Yeah.
I would as well. I am disappointed in this one, but I did still enjoy it. And I hope they move in a different direction with the next ones, kind of back to what they have been known for. But I do think it was a good movie and it's worth seeing. So
nice.
Cool. Well, I think that wraps us up. Any parting comments, John?
I'm trying to think of something about family. There's some moral from this movie about family, and I just can't. It's on the tip of my tongue.
I feel like they didn't really talk about family that much in this movie. Just a gaping hole in the middle of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know where the heart was.
I think they only said the word maybe once every 20 seconds or so. They really got to get that.
It wasn't enough for me to remember that it was about family. What about you, Dixon? You got any parting words for that?
Fuck Corona, man.
That's right.
I'll
cheers to that.
Oh God.
There we go.
Thanks for putting up with our bullshit.
Hey there, movie buffs, TV toughs, and all listeners in between. John here from the Afterthoughts podcast. I just wanted to drop in at the end of this episode and say thanks for listening. If you've got afterthoughts of your own to share, hit us up. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Afterpod, or jump into a conversation on our Discord server. You can find info for this and more at theafterpod.transistor.fm. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.